Hey there, welcome back to an episode of GOTR, Google Trends Investing with myself, Nolan Antonucci. And it's a special one. It's my first one where I am officially a dad. I slid it in at the end of the last one that we were due, but my wife Adrian and I welcomed this little nugget back on June 25th. So we've been got the hair to show it, but I'm a little short of sleep, short of time here. I've been trying to get back into looking at some of the search volumes out there. But we'll dive in, and I guess at the end, I do have a link. I joined my buddy Tevis and Ali from the. I met them at the Dumb Money event out in Vegas back in October, and had a nice little interview with them on Friday that they posted. So I'll give a link to that as well. But I got to go a little deeper into my background, doing again in terms of being a search marketing specialist for e-commerce websites, and how I've kind of found myself using search volume to inform my trading. So again, we'll dive in. I have a number of tabs up here. We'll go one by one. So I think I wanted to kick it off with Crocs. We do have some confirmation, or maybe there's confirmation probably with a bit of a caveat on some of the later ones here, where Google has made it known that they did cache searches differently come January 1st. Some of them I'll show that, and we'll hover over that a bit. But it is looking like the search volume with the Crocs near me in purple is higher than last year's peak. And then if you remove the Crocs near me terms, you even see better, clearer indication of higher volume. So the Crocs sandals in particular were big. So hopefully this will show in the earnings report coming up. It's been the only position that I have, or right now, actually there's two positions I have that are in the red. Other ones have cash loss or tax loss harvested. But Crocs I've continued to hold on to, and same with Amazon. If I include my leaps, I'm in the red overall in that position. But two positions that I still have long-term high conviction on. I guess the medium conviction with the Hey Dudes element for Crocs. But going forward here, I've also been trying to, again, use Google Trends not just as a means of assessing a company I have in mind, but looking at finding and discovering companies. So I just typed the word login, and I wanted to see kind of what were the related topics that bubbled up, and some of them are actually some company related ones here. So and I actually looked into Truist. I think it's like in Kentucky or somewhere, maybe North Carolina. It's a bank, but some of these are interesting that pop up there for login terms over a more recent window of time. So you take a recent window of time, see what's bubbling in there, and you can maybe zoom out. So again, I don't have a Paycom position, but I thought it was an interesting way. Again, I'm trying to bounce ideas off and hopefully come up with something good, but take the word Paycom log, and it is a somewhat unnatural jump there, and it has kind of flattened off of late, but it was an interesting company. I did get a good piece of feedback in this chart. So here, somebody asked, the problem with these percentages don't show you the search volume, so it's true. These are, Google's only showing these on a relative scale. So I think it's increasingly important, and obviously, or potentially even more important now with the questionability of year over year, being able to compare, is you actually probably want to take two different terms and see them relative to one another. So one thing I do a lot when I'm not really sure of a company, that I'm not sure who the competitors are, is take the name of the website or the company, and then put the word versus and see who are the common companies that you compare it to. So you can get a pretty good list of companies you want to compare, and then I now just kind of take the head term. So that's what we use in search marketing, kind of the core piece of the query, which I should probably make sure to at least do it for all of mine as well. So I sometimes get so narrow focus of Tesla financing or Tesla insurance, and I probably don't zoom out enough. But here, looking at the context here, you can see Paylocity actually is growing at a faster rate than probably Paycom in blue. Something interesting to keep in mind. I think they were private. I didn't look into it too deeply, but just again trying to show ways in which I've been using this tool to see if anyone else has other ideas. Again, please suggest any companies that you're interested in if you want me to take a dive. But yeah, I included that one there. So going to the next, I do have some thoughts around the fitness craze of F45. So it's Mark Wahlberg is an investor of this. It's kind of similar to CrossFit, similar to Orangetheory. And I do see in yellow, you can't really tell there, but as far as a percentage of searches, because this is an example again of looking at the context of a search related to another term, we are seeing of late these F45 terms are catching up as a percentage in relation to, and there you can see again this word note. I probably should have done one screenshot where you hover over it, but just again, it just says on January 1st they're scoring them differently. And there's one example I have later where you can clearly see it's like it jump steps up. So we might need to use that to kind of stitched together the before and afters. But F45 is going to be interesting. I don't have a position in it, but it's, I think it's 80% from when it IPO'd or so down. So keeping an eye on that one. And this should be, if F45 continues to add more and more chains or locations, I guess, it should play out in Google Trends pretty well. So again, there's this element of how well does a company fit using search volume? How representative is search volume of their growth? So again, my North Star has been the idea of Monster caffeine. So it's probably not even 100 out of 100 if we were to score Monster caffeine, but as Monster Energy was growing over time, there's more and more people curious about the caffeine content in a Monster Energy drink. So you'd see Monster caffeine growing year on, year out, correlating with revenue. So again, my main effort is to find those companies that are going to grow for years on end. But I'm also not going to close my eyes to something that maybe gives me in between and a quarter an edge, and maybe play an earnings report or not. I know it's been in earnings season here. So HubSpot is the one that I was kind of most curious about with this note, where you can see really since this note point, we are seeing a pretty big leg up. So again, it's tough to tell how much we need to normalize, or is the year-over-year volume that much better, but it definitely looks good for HubSpot. So something to investigate there with HubSpot login. It's against a CRM platform that I'm somewhat familiar with, but yeah, so we're seeing some increases even on the other terms too. You can see what's the green one, HubSpot versus people deciding between a couple of different platforms. I think the yellow is the pricing term. You can see it's clearly higher than it was in the period before. So we'll see on HubSpot there. I also am still keeping an eye, even though it's crypto winter. I still have a large Bitcoin position that's really just been a hodl one for several years now. But again, it's always interesting where what is the search volume in these darker times, I guess, in crypto land. So I've been very curious. Again, the main reason I'm in Bitcoin is that it's a finite, there's 21 million of them only, and probably a lot less when you exclude the Satoshi wallet, as well as lost keys and things like that, lost private keys. But looking at Bitcoin supply in relation to Ethereum supply, so Ethereum had a really good week this past period of time. And again, I didn't, off the top of my head, know Ethereum's cap. So again, I roughly have about a 3-to-1 ratio in my own portfolio of Bitcoin to Ethereum. Probably if I was starting from scratch and didn't have to pay taxes, I'd probably have a slightly larger amount of Ethereum in relation to my Bitcoin position. But again, it's interesting to see. I mean, and Ripple's supply is very suspect for those that dive in on that. But Cardano, Solana, these ones that are trying to have some element of tokenomics, some actual level of scarcity. So keeping an eye on those that are investigating the supply might be a good way to see are those that, how is this doing? All right, a little rockier delivery here. We're going to keep going with it because I got to get back here crying baby in the other room. I'm still keeping an eye on EXP Realty. So EXPI is the ticker symbol. It's a kind of a decentralized, almost a multi-level marketing type play on real estate. So people that are exploring joining EXP Realty in relation to Keller Williams, you can see EXP Realty clearly in blue, catching up with Keller Williams in red, and you can see it's overtaken it, but Keller's kind of catching back up a little bit. And you need to kind of type this a number of different ways. If you just do Keller Williams as one example, it ends up being a whole lot more. But I sometimes like to take two terms that are relatively on the same scale, and you can kind of more clearly see it. So I'd probably want to also take Keller Williams and see how much does Keller Williams roughly mirror this in red. Then I can take the assumption knowing that they're those are correlated in terms of the head term of Keller Williams and something more specific of Keller Realty. But keeping an eye on the EXPI, no position currently. Going forward, what else do I have here? Oh, so again, Google Trends is a heavy tool that I use. I'm also keeping an eye on BuiltWith. So BuiltWith is a plugin. I have it on my, actually you can't see, it's above the screen share area there, but you can see where I'm actually, you can see how often that technology is found on different websites. So, and actually, I did get a response from Azen, because you can't see it there, but he has a pretty cool tool that keeps an eye on hiring searches inside of different hiring job postings and all kinds of cool stuff like that. But he said there might have been a change of late, so I might explain some of the stair step down. But Global E is this platform that's used to help e-commerce sellers, mainly Shopify sellers, and Shopify actually has a position of it, sell internationally, which I know is some more of my clients are doing that. So I definitely believe it's a secular trend ahead of ourselves, but I also would want to see this Global E technology put in more and more websites. It does seem like it might have flattened out, or if not dropped down. And then when I do the same thing for Shopify, it's still continuing to chug right along. So search volume for Shopify alone, or not search volume, excuse me, built with identifying websites where it's still in there. So Shopify is still a large position. I don't want every single post to be about Shopify Plus. That's kind of the more enterprise level offering that Shopify has, and Shopify Pay. So that's one of the main search volumes I'm keeping an eye on, is just Shop Pay as one word and as 2 words. And it's continuing to increase in terms of the number of websites that's being in, and also seeing more people searching about it. So how they go in and pay for it. They have a partnership with Affirm, so maybe some interest on Affirm as well there. So transitioning to the end here to get into the YouTube video here, but we have Farfetch, the position I used to have. I'm out of it now. I think ARK Invest was in and out of it as well. I've been keeping an eye on this. Something's weird with the PE. I'm not really sure on that, so maybe somebody can inform me on what's going on with Farfetch's PE. But I guess I got to jump in. I'll jump back. But Farfetch has continued to see kind of flat volume, and actually for Farfetch, I think as long as they stay flat, it's probably okay. So it's an app specifically for buying luxury goods. So I'm not sure exactly which brands are on it, but maybe it's a brand like Louis Vuitton, or people that are buying luxury goods, clothing, purses, things like that. Probably the initial searches are done on Google, and then ideally they become loyal, they download the app, and they probably don't need to continue to see forever increases. And then I added Revolve and removed a number of other. So Revolve being a very general term, but Revolve, Kylie Jenner is involved. So when I was on with Tevis, he was talking about this is one of the positions he has high conviction in, and it's one of the few positions he's been actually adding to over this period, and it looks really strong. I mean, in green for the year over year. Again, see, I can actually hover over this one. So an improvement in our data collection system was applied on 1/1/22. So that does give me a little bit of, again, I just need to figure out how to match up, to best match up year over year data. I'll probably try to take a look at some of my clients to see on the search terms we're following for them, does it show flat, and that actually flat equals 20% up, or does flat show 20% down? Or but again, at least if you're using 2 ones there, they're hopefully the scale's off by the same degree. So if they're all off by 20 pounds, maybe you can at least have some relative understanding there. But I know Revolve is, again, it's probably a totally different audience than Farfetch, but Revolve is growing. We also see that Essence, it's a private company, has been growing as well. And then Shopbop, I think it's actually owned by Amazon, is pretty flat at the bottom there, and you can see that back in time it was even. So Revolve maybe is still gaining momentum there. Sorry this video was longer here, but I was able to join Ali and Tev. So on this, it's a full hour video. I talk a little bit more of my background in e-commerce. We went all the way into talking about, would the U.S. government want big tech to be broken up, or would they rather big tech be able to compete with TikTok and AliExpress and things like that, where there could be a reason why the U.S. might not want to break up AWS and Amazon and not break up YouTube and Google. But it was a cool video. We talked about, again, my typical stuff on the e-commerce side in terms of Google Trends, things like that. So I'll give a link to it in the description there. But I'm going to hop out and address crying baby outside. But remember, let the trend be your friend. Hopefully it'll be on in a week or so. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.